Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw News Brief. We've got the mailbag today in the audio version of this show. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to hear your questions answered, if you post a question to us on the Twitter, then head over to whatever audio podcast app you listen to. Will be found there, and we'll have your mailbag for you there. However, this is our YouTube news brief. Larson, what's in the you want me to read this first one? What's in the news?
Sure, I can.
I was asking if you wanted me to read this first one, because I wrote it.
I interpreted that correctly, but if you want to, by all means, go ahead.
All right, sure, why not? It involves a fellow member of the wrestling internet community that allegedly we're a part of. Alexa Bliss called out JD from NY. So every once in a while, the paths of the internet wrestling community and wrestlers themselves will cross over. For example, when I invaded Kyle O'Reilly's personal space. But this morning, those paths, they sort of blew up. Responding to a 24-second clip from JD from NY 206's show of JD metaphorically and kind of clumsily equating her wrestling in the ring to being lazy in bed, shall we say, she tweeted out this: "Normally, I ignore his ignorance because all he wants to do is be recognized by bashing me. But excuse me, sir. How dare you discredit my work in such a disgraceful way? Hashtag what a class act." Of course, Larson, the subject of social media etiquette in the wrestling world, has been a touchy one as of late, especially with the sad death of Hana Kimura, which we'll get to in a bit. A ton of WWE wrestlers then chimed in with their support of Alexa, while JD spent most of the morning basically on the defense. Rhea Ripley said, just disgusting. Braun Strowman had perhaps the strongest words that I was able to see. He said this: "This sad-ass Mark talking like he even knows what it's like to share a bed with a woman. He should prob stick to talking about wrestling because he doesn't know shit about it either, but at least he could pretend he does. Oh, and eating Hot Pockets his mom makes them. Hashtag trash."
Wow.
Oh, boy, JD. Oh, boy.
Yeah, he got himself in a bit of a hole here.
A little bit. So here's the thing. Full disclosure, like, we met JD a couple times.
Yeah, we've met him 2 or 3 times.
And he's perfectly friendly with us. And he's actually a fairly, I mean, he's a pretty easygoing guy if you meet him in person. Obviously, he's known for, I mean, I've done an impression of JD here and there. Yeah. Whenever something I don't like in wrestling, I'll go to JD and I'll say, "Garbage."
Yeah,
this is the Bernie Sanders, but
yeah, it is
garbage.
It is. Yeah, he definitely has a very distinct persona for his show.
Yeah,
that's been fairly well established. That he's not afraid to court controversy.
No. In fact, I think he's realized that courting controversy, as you put it, has led to some pretty decent success. I mean, the guy's numbers, if you look at his YouTube account, he does pretty well for himself. And he's built something. And I think the thing is, JD has taken the anger that I think a lot of people have over the lack of creative vision. You and I, we take the product and we try to dissect it from a critical standpoint. We try to look for the positives because, in my opinion, I don't care. Bad wrestling's still fun wrestling to me. It really is. I mean,
boring wrestling's the worst wrestling.
When it's boring, it's really bad, and that's when we get really down on it. That stretch on SmackDown, like when SmackDown on Fox started, and it was just unbearable. We would just sit there and talk crap, but we'd have a good time talking about it. I wouldn't, burst any veins doing so. And so he has taken this, this. Fans are not incredibly happy with the creative direction of WWE in general. I mean, it has been that way for a little while now, and he has taken that and he's been able to build an audience around that, and he channels the rage. I think when it's funny because one of his sort of defenses here on Twitter has been, well, this was a 24-second clip. That was posted by what he called a troll account. This was actually a clip posted by, I think it was like JD's burner account or something like that. Something like that. It's like the Twitter name. And it's like, it's funny, and maybe I'm just projecting, I don't know. But when he says this in the clip, you can kind of look in his eyes and he doesn't have all the conviction in the world. It's as if almost Like he understands as he's saying it that it's an ugly metaphor. It's a really ugly metaphor.
It is. And he's subsequently also on Twitter. He hasn't exactly, he's done the opposite. He hasn't backtracked at all.
Yeah.
And in the face of any sort of criticism from basically anybody, he seemingly is lashing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, people are bringing up tweets from the past. He's been in a big thing with Ryan Satin, and a lot of his Twitter activity is really ugly too. Again, I mean, I wonder if and this is me speculating. I wonder if JD sort of takes the tact that it's all a work, that there is the fictional world of wrestling, and he is involved in that as a work, and so he can say whatever he wants to say within the context of this JD character. I think the problem that I disagree with the idea that, because I've seen him retweet certain things where he says he's commenting on fictional characters. And my main problem with that is he's not. Mm-hmm. Because when you point out the performance of a wrestler, you're talking about, if you were to try to make this metaphor into, I'm talking about, for example, how much I hate Darth Vader. Well, you're talking about the performance of the person behind the character when you're talking about the wrestling acumen or lack thereof of a wrestler. You're talking about an actual human being, not a fictional character.
Yes.
And so when you're saying these things about wrestlers, you are talking about the people. You're not talking about, Baron Corbin, said this in his promo and I hate him for it. That's talking about the character.
Exactly. You're
talking about the performance right now. And that's talking about the human being involved. And so, it's not a good take. It's not a good look.
It's a bad take.
It's a bad take.
It's a bad take. I mean, we've seen Alexa's improvement since being called up.
Look, I think Alexa's a terrific wrestler.
I think she goes out there and it continually puts on fun matches and is a great performer.
Didn't she do a twist of bliss? Didn't she do a twist of bliss off the top of the chamber?
Yeah,
or one of the pods.
She's done one. She's done one off the top rope onto the floor.
Yeah.
We just watched that video of her training with Mike Quackenbush. She's doing awesome stuff in that.
Yeah, I know. I think she's developed. Her and Carmella both developed into pretty damn good wrestlers.
Yeah,
so I mean, just like the individual take itself is not a good one, anyways. But anyways, yeah, it is what it is. I'm glad that wrestlers. It's just this kind of thing, especially right now, is just extra sensitive. And even over the weekend, I was looking in the mirror at myself, and it's like I'm sure that people can sort of cherry pick some comments from our show and take a look at that, because sometimes you and I, especially me, I'll drop my filter a little bit, and just for the sake of a joke, I'll talk some shit. And I need to look at myself. It's like I need to look in the mirror. I need to look at my own tweets and see how I can improve. So I don't know. I just think it's the kind of thing where everybody needs to look at the situation.
Everybody just needs to be cool.
Everybody just needs to be cool, and I need to follow that rule too. And I don't know, maybe hopefully some lessons are learned here. So anyways, moving on. Talk about a lesson never learned. What a segue that was.
Vince just can't quit Hulk Hogan, can he? So WrestlingNews.co is reporting that there was a pitch within WWE to have Hulk Hogan appear at WrestleMania 36 when it was going to take place in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium and actually get in the ring and wrestle a little bit. Apparently the idea was to have Hogan be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and have him win the whole damn thing. WrestlingNews.co is saying that a source within WWE told them that, quote, the idea was he wouldn't take any bumps. He would work it, so he'd only have to eliminate one or two guys at the end, and then he would get his big celebration at the end with his music. It would have been perfect because he lives in the Tampa area. Apparently, Vince was on board with the idea, with WrestlingNews.co reporting that, quote, the idea was still on the table as late as February, but alas, it wasn't to be. First of all, because talks between the company and the Hulkster fell through because, guess what? They couldn't agree on money. And even if they had, the Battle Royal was scrapped anyways once Mania was moved from Tampa to the WWE Performance Center in Orlando.
So, okay, I can defend this a little bit. Just a little bit I can defend this.
You could try.
Look at the New Japan Rumble.
Yeah.
New Japan, and it's fascinating, and it is, look, it's obviously completely different. but New Japan, they keep their legends around to wrestle on like the super undercard, which is a fascinating concept to me, and it's one that I find it's so difficult to wrap my head around that.
Let me ask you one thing.
Huh.
And I know a lot of the legends, the long-time roster members in New Japan, are getting up there in years. Are any of them 66 years old?
God, is Hogan 66 already?
Yeah.
Wow, that's old.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
and I know this past year, New Japan. No, they didn't have the New Japan Rumble this year. The year prior, they had that special thing with a lot of older wrestlers in it. But I don't know, man.
No, I know it's different because it's Hogan. God,
and the New Japan Rumble kind of exists. I feel like kind of a separate universe almost.
It is. No, it is.
Because there's none of the top tier stars or even mid carders are in the New Japan Rumble by and large. It's all guys who are in the undercard and then the old timers pretty much.
They approach
a handful of people they bring in from other companies.
I say that tongue firmly in cheek. They approach their legends in a completely different way than WWE does. If this was par for the course, if this was Hulk Hogan, and I mean, I'm trying to think like the thing about American wrestlers, they will wrestle until literally they can't anymore. Like I'm trying to think of people who have actually retired, like CM Punk left because he was tired of that, but that's more of a principle thing. He could wrestle if he wanted to, but it's not like Foley can still take a bump. Like they wear their guys down. I guess I don't know. It is kind of different though. They like WWE treats their legends like Kane, Undertaker, Triple H, HBK. They were like the main attraction at the Saudi show just recently. In New Japan, they would be in the New Japan Rumble, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
That's weird. It's a weird thing to me that like there are different perceptions there. So yeah, I don't know. This is not shocking, but it is very disappointing. I had no desire to see this, but I understand it would pop the crowd huge.
Yeah, probably.
It would pop the crowd huge.
He's got such a bad back. I think even still.
Yeah.
Like you just worry that one wrong move and you're going to see someone get really hurt in the ring. Like really hurt.
Oh, but this would have been protected as hell. This would have been so
I know he wouldn't be doing it. Certainly no leg drops, no boots or anything, but he'd have to do like a lariat or something to knock someone out. Was he just going to Irish whip somebody and they're going to eliminate themselves essentially?
Okay, here's the thing. If the man can raise his arm like this and speed walk, that's all he needs to do.
I know, but if he got a bad back, speed walking could jack you up.
Well, then he wouldn't have done it if he didn't think he could speed walk. I think the guy could probably speed walk.
He might be able to, but you try to say that when he's getting out there in front of the crowd, he's not going to push to see how far he could take things.
Oh,
this is Hulk Hogan we're talking about, man.
Well,
what is he
then
live for?
The lesson would be learned, wouldn't it? Old man. I feel you. I don't want to see him either. And the thing is, the big difference also is, as you've already stated, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal is.
They at least hold that as if it matters.
It's a showcase for people who couldn't get on the card, but still, should get on the card.
And then they still kind of present it as okay, you win this, and maybe this will give you some momentum or something like this.
Yeah, they try.
And then you have guys out there who are working full time.
Yeah,
and they end up losing to Hulk Hogan.
That's man. Any one of those guys would love to be in the ring with Hulk Hogan. They would die for it. They would.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they're out there working their butts off, and they think, okay, I can win this maybe, and this maybe could be. History hasn't necessarily indicated that's the case, except for maybe the case of Baron Corbin. You win this battle royal, something good could happen going forward from that. And it's another instance where WWE gives a potential opportunity to a nostalgia act versus someone who's working year in and year out, day in and day out on the active roster.
I find myself continually defending this, and I shouldn't, but I don't know. Every time I make a point, I'm like, oh, that's a good, solid point, Steve. So they really should have done this. Anyways, some really, really, really super sad news over the weekend, Larson. Stardom confirmed Saturday that Hana Kimura had passed away. Their statement read, we are very sorry to report that our Hana Kimura has passed away. Please be respectful and allow some time for things to process, and keep your thoughts and prayers with her family and friends. We appreciate your support during this difficult time. Kimura was 22 years old And the story behind this is absolutely devastating. It would seem that it was probably suicide, although I guess, that has not been confirmed. But over the weekend, she was posting pictures of what can only be described as self-harm. She was, from what I understand, cutting her wrists, and she was apparently pretty depressed over her own social media bullying that was going on, stemming from an appearance on the show called Terrace House, which is kind of like a Big Brother type thing. They put a bunch of people, I think, that are like couples or something in a house together, and they film them incessantly 24/7. And she had a blow up at one of her, like, I think her boyfriend or her roommate or something, over him inadvertently washing her clothes in the laundry, but there were some longer standing issues with him. And apparently that received like just a massive backlash. And she was getting like, death threats and rape threats and all sorts of really, really nasty business.
It's awful.
And yeah, like I'll be honest. And I felt kind of guilty because I'm like, man, I really should know more about her. I didn't really know much of anything when this happened. I see all this outpouring of support and, I'm thinking to myself, all right, man, I got to get back on the ball here and start paying attention to what's going outside of WWE and AEW. But, so I watched over the weekend, I watched some of her stuff, and my God, the charisma levels on this girl was absolutely off the charts. Just insane. Like just an immense amount of talent. So yeah, real sad stuff. We do have a Raw tonight, and hey, there might be crowds in the audience, man.
Well, yeah, Fightful Select said they sound like there will be. However, they won't be on camera. That's what Fightful Select said.
Okay, so I'm kind of. This is going to be
interesting. Just get the ambiance. How's that really any different than piping in audio, man?
Okay,
really?
So I guess here's my thing. This is how I'm maybe interpreting this. So this is from Fightful Select. Please go subscribe because they're great. You get these emails, news breaks, and then you get it in an email form before anybody else does. An internal memo noted that many of the audience members will be intentionally kept off camera, but instead used to create an environment to better fit the WWE brand. I'm going to extrapolate, and this might be a reach. Maybe they simply mean they're going to be kept. They're not going to be featured on camera. So it's not going to be like, oh, hey, there's Dijak right there. There's Chelsea Green right there. Maybe it's going to be the sort of thing. Well, they'll be in view, but it's not like the camera's going to be doing close-ups on them, so that you have some life in the audience area.
Internal memo noted that many of the audience members will be intentionally kept off camera.
I mean, I know the literal reading of that is they're not going to be on camera, but they're going to be milling about, so you can hear them, yaying and booing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in about 6 hours now.
Something like that.
So
5.5.
Something is better than nothing. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out.
See what it's like. Just hear this kind of rumble of audio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Good shot over there.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be an Arby's night for Drew McIntyre. Speaking of which, let's do our Raw preview. Speaking of Drew, he's joining MVP in the VIP lounge this Monday on Raw. Are they going right to Drew versus Bob Lashley for Backlash?
Well, it's going to be Drew Brock at SummerSlam. I can almost guarantee that. Because, so I would imagine that's probably the case. Drew versus Bob Lashley. Also, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, and Natalya are going to battle it out for the right to challenge Asuka at WWE Backlash. Are they going to give Charlotte all the titles leading up to like a Ronda Rousey WrestleMania thing? Or
I don't know. That'd be something else.
I don't know.
Winner takes all.
Could be.
United States champion Andrade defends against Apollo Crews.
If they're smart, they'll put that title on Apollo tonight.
I would love that. Still feel like, however, Apollo Crews is going to lose this somehow. Kevin Owens is going to get into that U.S. title program, and because Apollo feels slighted in some respect, he's going to turn heel.
I would be happy with that also because it means we'd get more Apollo Crews, and I think he's fantastic.
He is fantastic.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to answer some questions on the mailbag portion of this show, which can be found on our podcast, audio podcast in podcast land. So if you can find that, great. Anyways, thanks everybody for watching. We do appreciate it. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Twitch chat, please stick around because we're going to do Mailbag Live here.